Welcome to Cast Your Bets, the Offshore Gaming Association podcast with your hosts Jim Quinn of OSGA.com and J.R. O'Donnell of Red Zone Sports. Let's get started.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to Cast Your Bets, a weekly podcast where we try to tell you a little bit about what to bet, where to bet, and how to bet, and get you on the right side of some games. This is Jim from OSGA.com, the Offshore Gaming Association, with my good friend J.R. O'Donnell of Red Zone Sports and Pregame.com. And folks, JR's been drinking a lot of whiskey and smoking a lot of cigarettes this week, so you'll have to forgive him a little bit. But JRO, how is it really going there in Q-Town?
It's going all right, my friend. Hard to believe that week 13 in the NFL, the good teams are starting to step it up, and it's a great time of year for the NCAA championships. I got a great play in the championships this weekend, and I got a nice, nasty dog in the NFL.
Yeah, there's the Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC. There's a lot of really great college football games on this weekend. The NFL is seriously heating up, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do this week. A little dogged on the show last week, but I think you're ready to come back strong. We did a little preview on what you're looking at. I'm ready for some picks this week.
Absolutely. It's a great time of year, like I said. A lot of people right now, they're stepping up to the lines because they're sharp. You got to do your homework. I did a lot of informational work this week. I got a nice NFL game, and in the college football, the listeners are going to love that one because I got a team that can really score some points, and they play great defense.
Fantastic, man. And, while we're on the topic of these big games and, not just these big games, but this weekend here, with these college championship games, they're huge games. They're on TV. ESPN's been hyping them. Fox Sports has been hyping them. My local TV's been hyping them. One of the problems that I see a lot of bettors get into is with these big games, they either bet too much or they bet games they're not really familiar with just because they've been hyped so much and they're on TV and they're right in front of their face. I think that's a big no-no, JR. And I know you do a lot of homework. You can't possibly bet every one of these championship games.
No, absolutely not. And you got to hand it to the NCAA and the television networks as they really present the package to the people. They really hype it up. They advertise days before, the class of the leagues coming in there with obviously the championships. And the people get caught up in that hype. The game is no different than week one in college football or week one in the NFL. You want to flat bet these games. You want to stay focused. And believe me, 2 or 3 championship games at most where you do your homework. Quantity is not going to be obviously what you're going to look at. You're going to look at quality when it comes to the championships. You're going to play 2 or 3 big games heavy, and you're going to leave the ones alone. Even if it's on TV, you don't have to bet it. That's how the smart people make money.
Yeah, and I think there's also a little bit of public perception that, the lines makers stay up a little later at night. They work a little harder on these games. And, I don't necessarily know that I'm buying into that. I think the lines makers up late at night working on every game because those guys want to kick your ass.
Absolutely. In order to be a lines maker, you got to be one of the sharpest out there. These guys have all type of systems. It's amazing how these guys formulate the lines. I try to do it myself with my own power ratings. I certainly don't get as sharp as these guys, but these lines makers are a special breed, a special class, and believe me, they are not your friends. They are your enemy when it comes to this business.
They're your enemy. It's time to take down the enemy this week, JR. I don't think that even though there's only one NFL game on a Thursday night or a Monday night, and it got a lot of guys that are out there betting that with 2 fists, or they're trying to get out with the Monday night game, or they're trying to get ahead on the Thursday night game, or even the Sunday night game they're trying to get out. They got to realize, that's no different than a 1 o'clock game between, San Francisco and Cleveland, according to the lines maker. They're working hard every day, and there's no reason to put more money or go crazy on a game because it's on TV or it's the only game in town.
Right. That's an excellent point. There's no reason to go crazy on Thursday night or Monday night, but believe me, Monday night is traditionally a night where people try to send it home if they're up and they try to get out if they're down. Monday night is a lot of heartbreak in there, but believe me, the lines makers study just as hard for the 1 o'clock games on Sunday as they do for the Monday night games, even though perception has a lot of people, holding the chips and really nervous about Monday night because they're trying to get out. If they played smart on Sunday, you didn't get buried one game at a time, and you're certainly not going to get out by one game, but that's what some of these people think.
Yeah, I like that, man. You're not going to get out with one game. I think that's really important for the listeners to understand. You know, we have 40 bowl games coming up, JR. It's expanded to 40. We run a contest, and our contest software can't handle all 40 games. It's pretty funny. So we start on, like, the fourth game, like the Tidy Bowl or something. I don't know what we start with. You know, Army-Navy games coming up. That's the only college football game, I believe, on Saturday next week. A super tradition that's actually being played in Philadelphia this year. The NFL playoffs are coming up, so you're reduced from having a huge smorgasbord of things to bet on. You know, and I think that you have to do a little bit of extra work. And maybe you're only picking one game here and there with the bowl season. You know, you're doing some work on the line jumps off the page at you. Maybe you're only one game out of the whole weekend of NFL playoffs. If you're really smart about your betting, and I think that that's where a lot of guys fall into trouble at this time of year.
Absolutely. When it comes to the bowls, you make a great point. You got to look for motivation of the teams coming into the bowls, and there's an age-old fashion that the sharp handicappers use. In the bowls, you play the dogs early and the favorites late. All those nondescript bowl games in the beginning, the live dogs are a lot of value because obviously they want to be there. Some of these teams don't want to be there. But when it comes to the New Year's Day and the championship and those BCS, you want to bet the favorites late and you want to bet the dogs early. Now, that's certainly not all the way because you got to do your homework, but it's a pretty good percentage. Dogs early, favorites late when it comes to the bowls.
Dude, I just heard about 1 million people all click pause on the podcast, rewind it so they could write that down. In the college bowls, dogs early, favorites late. That's a nice rule of thumb to use. I like that a lot, man. That's really cool. You know, and speaking of college, and now you got a nice fat college play. All these championship games this weekend. I think you picked out a nice one here in the American Athletic Conference. We're looking at Central Florida, UCF, 7-point favorite now, probably 7.5 versus Memphis. Talk to me a little bit about who you like in this game.
Sure. I'm going American Athletic Conference, and I'm going to play on a team that is an under-the-radar, nondescript, but they are a super team. And I'm looking at Central Florida, who is a well-coached team. Now, Memphis put up 70 last week against a terrible East Carolina team. They flat out quit. And Memphis is getting value by putting up 70 last week. When you look at Central Florida, it's almost a home game. They're playing in Orlando, Florida, Spectrum Stadium. But let me tell you, the Memphis Tigers give up 30.8 points a game. They are basically squeaking out wins against Navy and Houston. UCF, let me tell you, UCF, I don't mind laying a touchdown or even 7.5 because UCF put up 603 yards against South Florida. And let me tell you, they have a dual threat quarterback. Milton is an NFL prospect, 30 touchdown passes, and only 6 interceptions. Let me tell you. Milton in a Division I program, and they play in a tough conference. 30 touchdown passes and 6 interceptions all year. And let me tell you, they got a running back who can run for 115 yards a game, and basically they don't turn the ball over. I think the Central Florida Knights are going to overpower a Memphis team that they can put up points, absolutely, but they're not going to be able to trade punches. I know I'm getting excited here, but UCF is my best play of the college football championship weekend, and they're going to hammer Memphis. Play UCF as my college football play.
Nice, man. UCF, Central Florida, -7. You know, these two teams met back in September in Orlando. Central Florida pretty much crushed them 40-13. I think you're right with the whole Memphis crush and 70. I didn't realize they put up 70, man. That's actually pretty funny. I was like, what? 70? Last week did help this line out a little bit. You know, probably your power ratings, you got this game probably more like 8 or so, something like that.
Absolutely. Memphis put 70 against East Carolina, and East Carolina did not get off the bus. They stayed on the bus the whole first half. It was 49-7 at the half, and Memphis just pounded a team that quit. Now, UCF is a different flavor, different ball game, and Memphis will not run roughshod. They might put up 27, but I got this baby 45-25, 45-27. I'm laying the points, and I'm confident for the listeners. I might be sick, but I'm not sick on this pick because they smash Memphis.
Nice, man. Total is actually at 83. It started at 85. That's unbelievable. That might be one of the highest totals I ever saw. But JRO is going to be taking Central Florida -7, even at 7.5. I think you still like this game. So we're going to put that one down. We're going to click the button at our favorite sports book. Don't forget, folks, you can hear this podcast on iTunes. You can also find it on the OSGA.com website, and you can find it on a really popular podcast site called Blueberry. If you sign up over there, it sends you an email, let you know when this podcast is live, so you can check out JRO's pick and a little bit of what we try to teach you here. JRO, you got some stuff up on pregame.com for the listeners this weekend?
Absolutely. I have NHL, NBA, college basketball. I certainly have the conference championships games. I gave out Central Florida as my best because I love the listeners. I love the podcast, and I'm doing some homework here. But that is correct. Go to pregame.com. Just look for J.R. O'Donnell. It's a transparent website. I'm not sure too loud, but I could be on any website out there, and I found a home at pregame.
You were killing it in the NHL. You were winning as much as the Flyers have been losing. So you still been cranking it up in the NHL. How's that going?
Yeah, I'm plus 40 units in the NHL.
Ooh.
I bet 3 stars, 2 star, and 1 star. Everything's transparent. Now, when you talk to a handicapper and they tell you how good they are, listen, every game I play is logged in the system. There's no BS. There's no anything else. I am, for the season, plus 40 units in the NHL. I love the hockey. The hockey you can win at. Obviously love football and basketball, but I'm plus 40 units in the NHL, and I love to, do all sports. And I get passionate about what I do, and I'm passionate about the podcast.
Fantastic, JR. I told a friend of mine the Flyers a couple of times have in a tie at the end of regulation, and I had a couple of friends of mine who didn't even realize you could bet the puck line there and bet a tie at the end of regulation. So, there's definitely some opportunity there, and I'm glad to see you're still ripping it up. Folks, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this word from OSGA.
The offshore betting industry is totally unregulated.
Where can you turn to make sure your money is safe offshore?
The Offshore Gaming Association, OSGA. Visit the Offshore Gaming Association at www.osga.com or call them toll-free 7 days a week at 877-OSGA-BET. That's 877-674-2238. Established in 1998, the OSGA has been the ultimate watchdog for the unregulated offshore betting industry. They have helped thousands of players find secure, reputable offshore wagering outlets and perform dispute resolution for hundreds of wronged players. Visit the Offshore Gaming Association at www.osga.com or call them toll-free at 877-OSGA-BET.
Folks, welcome back to Cast Your Bets, where every week we try to help you cash a few tickets here. I'm here with my good friend J.R. O'Donnell from Red Zone Sports. My name is Jim Quinn from OSGA, Offshore Gaming Association. Happy to always help you out with any problems you may have with sports books. If you're ever looking for a place to play where you know you're going to get paid, come over to the site, osga.com, and we'll definitely help you out there. I want to spend a quick minute talking a little bit of sportsbook information. We try to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the industry every week here at Cast Your Bets. I talked to a few sportsbook operators this week, and we discussed a little bit about depositing. It seems that there's some problems people are having right now with credit cards. Credit card processing has been, a nightmare for the offshore operators for a number of years, but right now there's a low acceptance at many of the sports books. So what we're trying to tell you is, if you call up and you try to deposit at one of these places, or you go online and you try to use your credit card and it doesn't work out, it's no reason to try and just abandon things. You should always try and have MoneyGram or person-to-person in your back pocket, knowing that you can somehow get the money down to your sports book. The folks offshore are also very high on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a virtual currency product that's out there. It's kind of like a net teller type product with a little bit of the stock market built in. It's actually been increasing in value incredibly. But you can click send your money there, send it over to the sports book, get it back, put it back in your bank account with literally no problem. So, I just wanted to alert people that if they're trying to use their credit card and it's not working for them when they deposit, to, seek an alternate method. It's just the way that things are right now. The other thing is, once you get into one of these places and you've played there for a while, I've been told that there's different processing options available for credit cards. So once you get into one of these places, especially one of the places we rate as elite, you should be able to use your credit card after a couple of either cash or Bitcoin deposits. So that's something to keep in your back pocket as well, so that once you get going, things might get a little smoother for you. And it's not to say you can't send money to these places. They're certainly willing and able to take it, but it's just a little hiccup in the road right now that I think players should be made aware of. Every week here, JRO pops a couple of picks from his pile of paper. JRO, what'd you find for us this week?
This week, if you let me go to the NFL, I played a rock-solid favorite in college football, but I'm going to play a nasty dog, and I'm going to look at the Minnesota Vikings +3 or 3.5 against the Atlanta Falcons. Everybody and their brother thinks the Atlanta Falcons and Matty Ice is back. Let me tell you, Matty Ice is still not on the same page with offensive coordinator Sarkisian, and the Minnesota Vikings have a 7-game win streak. They played on Thanksgiving. They had a couple extra days. And Casey Keenum, believe it or not, is not that bad. Let me tell you about this stat. The Vikings have scored more points, 271, than the Atlanta Falcons this season, if you can believe that. People are going to shake their head twice and say, you know what? They look at the Vikings as 3 and out, 14, 17-point games. But the Minnesota Vikings can play defense. They scored more points than Atlanta. And I'm just not buying Atlanta this week. They are a false favorite. I like the Vikings with their defense. Case Keenum is a solid quarterback. They can play defense, and the Vikings will get the job done. I like him +3.5 as my NFL pick.
Nice, man. This is a fat winner, I think, because I looked at this game a little bit, too, when I was looking at some picks. The Vikings' defense is the real deal. I mean, they're 5th in points allowed, 2nd against the run, 5th in total yards allowed. You know, their offense really is clicking right now. It took me like that kid that plays for the Vikings, it took me like the 4th week to stop calling him Casey. He's just Case. It took me a while to get that, and he's really been playing well for them. Enough so that the Teddy Bridgewater's still sitting on the bench. This is a nice-looking game here, JR.
And if I have one stat here that I wanted to hold for the listeners to come back, Minnesota's offensive line has only allowed 12 sacks all season. That's right. Case Keenum and his mobility and the line, an undescript, undervalued line, they have allowed 12 sacks all season, and that's dynamite for offensive line.
I also dug up a little tasty tidbit that in the last 4 meetings, the favorite team is 1-3 straight up and 0-3-1 against the spread. You know, I'm not really a big fan of those historical trends, like, you know, on a Thursday when the grass is long and the sun is high in the sky, these teams don't win. But, you know, when you look at something where they're 0-3-1 ATS in the last 4 meetings between these two teams, I think that plus some of the stuff you've brought up, you know, you do your homework, and I'm big and fat on this winner here, the Minnesota Vikings +3.5. It looks to me like the total's 47.5, 47, somewhere around there. And I like this big fat winner from JRO. Probably have this one and a few others up there at pregame.com, right?
Absolutely. I have the Seahawks against your Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday night. We could spend hours on that, baby. But let me tell you about Philadelphia, obviously. 10-1. They are unbelievable. They have a family going on down there. That's going to be one whale of a ball game. I'm certainly not going to tip my hand now. But everybody in Philadelphia, even got JRO a skeptic, believe it now.
Yeah, the wagon's pretty full at this point in Philly, no doubt about it. I usually take a little second here at the end of the show to talk about some of the things that we hear on our chat and our phone lines and in our email box here at osga.com. And, you know, one of the things that we've seen recently is we're serious players, you know, gamblers who are doing their homework, guys who are playing more than just $25 on their college alma mater, are going and they're taking shots at smaller books and then having trouble getting paid when they win big money. These players, you know, it's unfortunate that we see this going on, but I mean, if you're a serious gambler, and this is, I can't stress this enough. If you're a serious gambler, if you're out to win money, if you're betting more than $100 a game, you have to play at a place that's rated elite by us. You have to play at a place that's been around for years, and you have to play at a place that has a lot of customers, so they have the wherewithal to withstand a bad week or two. You know, it's a shame that I've seen, you know, guys who are very good players, unfortunately getting stung because they played at a place that was a tiny little place that now that will eventually pay them, but doesn't have the money right now to pay them. And it's if they had played over it at a Bet Online or a bookmaker or, you know, any number of places, a Heritage Sports, you know, they'd already have their money in their pocket. But instead they choose to take maybe some super high bonus money, or, you know, the guy that was their VIP clerk at the last place is now working at this place. It's a brand new joint. And it's just unfortunate because the number one thing is getting paid. What good is winning if you don't get paid was our first slogan, and it still holds true today nearly 20 years later. And it's one thing to play and have some fun. And, you know, those kind of folks, you know, if you're out there and you're like, hey, you know, here's a pick from JR. I don't have any idea. I'm out here having a little fun. Let me throw $10 on it. You know, you can go play it any place. But if you're serious and you're trying to win money and you're hoping at the end of the season to be up, you know, a couple of dimes, you want to stick with one of the places that's been around for a while and is going to make sure they pay you by the end of the football season. So that's what we're hearing. That's what I wanted to tell everybody about this particular week here on Cast Your Bets. JRO, we'll be looking for you on pregame.com all weekend. Folks out there, you can be looking for me, Jim, over at osga.com. And we've been glad to have you as our listener today. And hopefully we helped you cash a few tickets at the end of the weekend. Look for JRO's Central Florida pick and the Minnesota Vikings. Folks, you have a good week. Good luck out there. And thanks for listening to Cast Your Bets.
You've been listening to Cast Your Bets, the Offshore Gaming Association podcast. Check in each week for more inside the sports gaming world. And don't forget to check us out on your favorite social media site and on our YouTube channel at OSGA Sports Betting. Thanks for listening.